Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to talk to you all about how I stopped losing Instagram followers and in the last 30 days managed to turn my account around. I actually gained over 200 followers and massively increased the reach on each photo. Earlier this year, I was very close to giving up on Instagram. I'd been on this app for 5 years and built up over 17,000 followers. I also, through the app, learnt new skills. I had a small income stream through courses and a few ads, and I enjoyed being part of a largely positive community on there. When Instagram announced that an algorithm was going to be brought in a few years ago, I wasn't overly concerned. I just thought or assumed that I would just carry on as always and nothing would actually change. So I would upload pictures of my brown table with various creations on top of it. Cakes, cookies, writing, flowers plucked from the garden, and these would all be interspersed with pictures of my dogs, my chickens, my ducks, piles of books, baking, cooking. It was essentially a magazine of my creative countryside life. So the algorithm came in and things continued as normal. But then I noticed a significant change this year. Pictures on my account in the past have regularly brought in over 1,000 likes. Sometimes over 2,000, sometimes over 3, and once even over 4,000 likes. And this is when I had somewhere between 12 and 15,000 followers on there. My account steadily grew and I got to the peak of it at around 17,500 followers, maybe a little bit less than that. Then this year I started to lose followers, and at first I thought it was because I changed my handle. I went from A Bookish Baker to Helen Redfern Writer, and also the content of my Instagram stories had changed quite a bit. Sadly, my ducks and my chickens had been killed by a fox, and the mornings on my Instagram stories didn't start with me releasing them, and I know a lot of people followed my Instagram stories just to see their kind of joy as they started a brand new day. So by the time we got to September this year, I'd lost nearly 1,000 followers and I was down to about 16.3 thousand, so probably just over 1,000 followers I lost. And I wasn't alone, this was happening to a lot of people, and engagement was down too. My likes at best were about half of what I used to get, sometimes significantly less. And people said, don't worry about it. And I know that we shouldn't just base everything around likes and how many followers we've got, but I'd worked hard on my Instagram over the past 4 years, and I didn't want to see all that hard work building up an audience to just evaporate. So for example, a picture I uploaded in the summer of this year got around 500 likes. I looked at the analytics and the reach for this picture was 4,734, and 3% of those people were not following me. So not only was I losing followers, but I was not being seen by enough people to replace the followers I was losing. Compare that to a picture I uploaded last week, my best one since I changed things around in the last month. It gained 2,500 likes. My reach was 31,000. 84% of those were not following me, and from that one picture I gained 50 followers. It's not massive, but it is slow and steady growth, and that's all we asked for, isn't it? I looked at my photograph in my analytics from the past 2 years on Instagram, and in that top 15, just one photograph in terms of reach is from March this year. The rest is from the end of September when I changed things to now. 2 years of taking photographs, and my best results are from the past 30, 31, 32 days. So how did I change things? Before I tell you how I went about changing things, I cannot stress enough that I don't have all the answers. If you follow me on Instagram, that you already know that I'm quite transparent. I like to be honest, and I like to share things if they work for me. And I haven't, for example, put a clickbaity title on this video. I could have done, because I know a lot of people want to know how to grow their Instagram account, but I'm not here to tell you how you can grow your account. I'm just telling you what worked for me, in the hope that it's going to help you too. For the moment, my account is growing and I am seeing a growth in engagement, and I just want to share with you how I've done it, because I know so many people are tearing their hair out with the loss in followers and with engagement. I also want to add that what I've done might not work for all content creators. What I've done works for me and with what my goals are with the app. A friend said to me a while ago, what is your why? Why do you want to grow your Instagram? And I thought about this, and my first reaction was because I'm stubborn and I don't want to start going down. I'm just really bloody minded about this. I basically had visions of me steadily decreasing, and by the end of this year I would be less than 10,000 followers and I would lose my swipe up function, which to me would be quite bad, because I rely on that quite a lot. And then there was the reason why I grew my account in the first place, and that was to show publishers that I had an established audience who enjoyed the sorts of things that I shared on social media, and may well also enjoy a book written by me too. And then there was also another goal of mine, which was to grow my YouTube channel. And the more chance I have of growing my Instagram, the more chance then there is of followers on Instagram popping over and having a look at my YouTube channel and clicking on the subscribe button. So growth was really important to me. And I've just mentioned the growth of my YouTube channel, that this was important. I did a video on how I grew my YouTube channel to over 1,000 subscribers a few weeks ago, and the growth of my channel on YouTube was largely down to carving out a niche for myself on there. Initially on YouTube, I created films like my blog posts and like my Instagram on topics that interested me, anything and everything. Could be cooking, baking, my chickens, my ducks, a little bit of writing, books that I'd read, a Christmas pudding, what I got for Christmas, all that sort of thing. And my account didn't grow. So after following some advice about YouTube, I started to get specific, and I started to niche down, which is not a term I particularly like, but my subscribers started to go up. I started to talk about my writing, I started to talk about my notebooks and other work projects that I was doing, and how I was planning them all out. So my subscribers started to go up. How interesting, I thought. Especially as on my blog, I've always been opposed to having a niche, because I did it a few years ago and it really did not work out for me. And as I said, I don't like the word niche. It's too kind of marketing, too salesy, and doesn't really work in my kind of cozy creative environment. But what if, instead of using the word niche, we changed it to the word focus? This is a warmer, perhaps more human word, and also more relatable. And it dawned on me that my Instagram did not have enough focus. It wasn't enough to just post pictures on Instagram that I liked about a variety of things. My account didn't have focus. I was not giving people a reason to look at my account or a reason to follow my account. Nobody knew what my account was about. And it's then that I made an even bigger realization. My whole working life, sounds so dramatic, but my whole working life didn't have focus. It wasn't just my Instagram account, it was my whole working life. I said I was a writer on my Instagram bio, and I wrote articles about being a writer on my blog, but I wasn't acting like a writer in real life. I was dabbling with being an influencer. I flirted with the idea of being a book reviewer and a bookstagrammer. I was being a coach, I was selling courses, and I was taking photographs and recording videos, and my writing kept being pushed to one side. And I decided that now it was time to put my writing centre stage, in both real life and with my online life, specifically Instagram and YouTube. I set about making changes, and I thought about my goals. Then I broke my goals down into projects, and then I broke my projects down into manageable tasks that I could work on every day and make my goals not seem so overwhelming. And I've spoken about this in a video called My New System to Tackle Big Writing Projects. I'll link to that in the description box below. This gave me much needed focus, and this focus became reflected in my Instagram. I was writing and sitting at my desk every day. Instagram photos had to be something that fit in with what I was doing, not as a chore to do in addition to. And in the past, my Instagram photos could have taken hours for me to execute. Now I needed to find a way in which they could just fit in with my writing. I was inspired by other Instagram accounts where students post pictures of their studying. They post pictures of their notebooks, their iPad with their notes written on, their laptops and their penmanship. And I looked at their accounts and I was fascinated by their accounts because I like to see lots of notes and things like that. But I also noticed a lot of them were growing. And why were they growing? They were growing because of the algorithm. The algorithm is based on your interests. So if you in the past have liked a picture of a notebook on a desk, then it will show you more of notebooks on a desk in your explore feed, or in your main feed. It will prioritize those and put them at the top. This is how I believe the algorithm works, by the way. I'm in no way an expert. We are in the world of an algorithm now, like it or loathe it, and if you do want to grow your account, you really do need to find a way to work with the algorithm. I was by now really bored of moaning about the algorithm, so I decided to experiment and just try working with it for a bit. So I decided I was just going to take photos from my desk behind me. This solved the problem of my Instagram photos not taking up too much time and not taking precedence over my writing, but it also helped with the Instagram algorithm identifying my account and what it was about, so it could suggest it to people who have liked similar accounts in the past. And in the beginning, I tried to do what I've done for the past few years on Instagram, and I tried to take different photos each time which were next to each other on the grid from different angles. So sometimes it would be top down, sometimes it would be face on, or from the diagonal corner. And nothing started to change. I was still getting between 400 and about 600 likes on my pictures, until I took this photograph on the 3rd of October. And since that picture, my engagement started to increase. And yes, there is a downside to this. As my husband rightly pointed out the other day, a lot of my photographs now look the same. A lot of it is from a very similar angle, but the contents of my desk varies. So, you know, I use different notebooks, and the background on my desk varies. I change where the plants are, change where my mug of pencils is, and the focus of what my desk is always reflects what I'm doing that day. So yeah, you could argue that my account looks very samey, and you could say that I have just basically put myself into a box. But going into a box about writing is actually a really good thing for me, offline as well as online. It's given me renewed energy for my writing. I'm now having a big push to get my novel finished. I've got dreams of pursuing a non-fiction book idea. I've grown my audience, and I like to chat to them about writing and writing tips and things we do to encourage ourselves to write. So, to summarise, so far, I've got specific on who I am, and I mean really specific. And I've made my Instagram focused, and I've taken photographs of this focus. But I've also done other things in addition to this, and I don't know if either of them would work in isolation, or it's just an amalgamation of everything that I've done that's grown my account. So another thing that I've done, I have created a cozy feel with my photographs, and I've done this by putting a filter on from the app VSCO or Visco, and I've chosen a filter that's a little bit dark, a little bit smudgy, and makes me feel about my photographs the same way I do when I look at my desk in real life, if that makes sense. I feel very cozy in this space, and I wanted that to be reflected on my Instagram account. The other thing I've done is I have changed the time in which I post. For so long, for many years, I have always posted around 7:30 in the morning, and I thought that was the time, the ideal time for me to post when most of my audience was on, say, before the school run or whatever. And it wasn't until I looked in my analytics that I found, and I think you get this with a business account, and I found that the busiest time for me was from 12 noon until about 6 o'clock at night. So I posted at 12 noon to take advantage of that busy time, and it worked. And then another thing that I've done is hashtags. Hashtags have brought in the most in terms of reach than anything, and as you can see, so much has come from hashtags. If you're not using hashtags and your account isn't growing, then I would suggest that you are missing out. I use specific hashtags for writing, for notebooks, for stationery, for coffee and books. The hashtags are ones that I would use to flick through, but also what I think my potential audience would use too. I don't use, say for example, writers of Instagram particularly, because a lot of the photographs on there are quotes or dense text, and it's not really the sort of audience that I'm looking for. So I had to think laterally to find more hashtags, and again I looked at these students who had these study Instagram accounts, and I also looked at the more visual creative journal Instagrammers and looked at those hashtags too. Not all of them, I hasten to add, are suitable, but it's just a case of thinking laterally rather than on what you actually do, and having a look around and seeing what other people who are very visual on Instagram are also using. And then the other thing with hashtags, I don't actually change them a lot. I tend to use the same ones a lot. I will add in various different ones occasionally, and occasionally I'll investigate and look for new ones just to freshen it up a little bit. But on the whole, I use the same hashtags I don't know, I have a theory that this might help identify me to the algorithm as a writer and as someone who's into notebooks and stuff like that, but that's just a theory. I don't know. I know it used to be a massive no-no to use the same hashtags all the time because people say you're spamming the hashtags and you will get, I don't know, shadow banned or something. Whatever it is, this is the thing that works for me, using very similar hashtags a lot of the time. I don't just post photographs on my Instagram feed either. I occasionally do time lapses of my writing or planning, and I will put these on IGTV, and if that is over 60 seconds in time, then Instagram will say, would you like to put this onto your main feed? And I will always say yes, because then it appears to your followers in their home feed. I love doing these IGTV videos anyway. It doesn't take up much extra time because I am essentially just doing my work and setting the camera up and just recording it from a top-down perspective. It just makes your feed a little bit more interesting. I also have put videos straight into my Instagram feed instead of a photograph. It's not an IGTV, but it's just an Instagram video, so I've also done that. And it's basically just making your account that little bit more exciting, a little bit more varied, and it gets you out into to different people. And also, was going to say about your IGTV, you can also put your hashtags on there as well and get discovered that way. And with my IGTV or my videos that I put on Instagram, I will record them with my phone and then I will edit them with an app called Splice. Then the next thing that I've done is I've made my captions shorter. I basically talk about what I've been doing that morning. I occasionally ask questions because that's good for engagement, but I won't ask questions just for the sake of it, because I think that looks false and the reader knows it looks false, and so I don't do that. And then there is perhaps my favourite of all, and that is Instagram stories. So I no longer put pictures of my dog or my cat or anything that I've baked or cooked onto my main Instagram grid, but I will put them on Instagram stories. But I don't just dump them there with no sort of relevance. I try and make a story of my day around them. So the dogs often start the day, and then the cooking often ends the day, and in between all of that is a load of writing or working on my YouTube videos or working on my planning and my goals and stuff like that. I use Instagram stories as the day in the life of a writer, and this involves walking the dogs in the morning and cooking the family meal in the evening. They essentially bookend my writing day. And also, I don't use stories just to dump in a load of links or to repeat praise or to highlight that I've just put up a new grid photograph. I will do these things, but I will always wrap a story around it so it's not just there in isolation. So if any of you watching this now have come over from my Instagram, you may have come over from my Instagram because you heard me or saw me talking about my Instagram engagement increasing in my Instagram stories, and I started writing the script for it. So I showed everybody the script that I was writing, and I did this, and I was writing this script. It took me ages to write because there was so much information. So I built up interest. But I also asked questions from you, and you very kindly replied with what you were interested in. But I also talked about it because it was part of my working day. And therefore, all of this combined was creating interest in my video even before it came out. Does that make sense? So now my video is anticipated. I've had a few people direct messaging me saying how interested and excited they are to see this video. So I'm not doing it as a kind of salesy thing to build up my video. I'm doing it because I just think the behind the scenes is something that interests me, so maybe it'll interest other people too. I share what I'm working on, I share the state of my desk, I share what I'm struggling with, and often by talking about what I'm struggling with, I find the answers. And I also show my planning process, and hopefully it comes across as interesting or inspiring or anything like that, but mainly I have fun recording it and doing it. I'm not thinking deeply about this. It's basically all the things that I would love to watch. I would binge watch this from other writers because I'm obsessed with the whole behind the scenes of how a writer works. So anyway, if you know any other writers that have really good stories on how they work, please tell me in the comments below. That is essentially everything that I've changed over the past month, from the end of September till currently. And I don't know, is it rocket science? Is it something that can be translated into the subjects that you talk about on Instagram? Do let me know in the comments below, and also let me know if you want me to talk more deeply about anything that I've mentioned on here, or if you want me to clarify anything. I know I tend to get quite excited, so maybe I haven't spent long enough on a particular subject. So please let me know in the comments below, or DM me on Instagram. I'm there, Helen Redfern Writer. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next week for another video. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and the thumbs up, and thank you very much for watching. Bye for now. Bye.